Hi there, gentlemen. How are you today?
Hello. I'm doing good. How are you doing? How are you doing, Christopher? Hey, Caroline.
Oh, Christopher's hard at work. That's why I think he's doing the poll right now. But I'm going to do a formal introduction. Welcome to the Collaboration Stations. This is our Wednesday space, which is a welcome to X space, a perfect place for newcomers to X to bring your friends to welcome them, and then also share your wisdom as an experienced X creator. And today we have different themes for the episodes. And today's theme is all about spaces. So we'll be answering questions, providing tips, all that stuff. And then this is also always a ex-creator hangout. So you're welcome to come up and share anything that you've got going on. This is a spaces theme on today's episode, but we can take it in any direction. It's always an open forum. Yeah. And I have my lovely co-host, Christopher Fryan, who is a digital artist and AI filmmaker. And then we have Rich Silver here, who is a digital artist, a traditional artist, incredible artist, and also content creator here on X, making some amazing AI content and passionate about silver and precious metals. There we go. I know I'm paying attention. And my name's Kate, and this is in my community collaboration station, just all about meeting other creators on X and finding cool accounts to mingle with. I'm also a web designer and photographer, and I do other many little things that are just fun for me. So that's the introduction. How'd I do, guys?
You did amazing.
Yeah, you did great, Kate.
Thank you. It's funny because I'm like, okay, we're going to welcome new people to the platform. And then I don't even introduce myself. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves when I first got here, is that everyone just assumes that everyone knows them already.
Oh, come on. Everybody knows us, right?
Yep.
We're like super famous.
Super duper famous. Okay. So part of every episode is we do a poll, which is highly relevant and critical to the future of humanity in every episode. And it's very important to vote in this poll. And that is typically Christopher's job. I thought we redelegated it to Rich because he did such a fantastic job in the last episode. But
I don't know about that.
It seems like Christopher's just muscling in and keeping his spot. So this is just a tad bit awkward, but we'll just roll with it. So why don't you go ahead and present the poll?
Yeah, why don't I go ahead and do that? Anyway, the poll today is, what is your most common reoccurring dream? And your options are flying, getting lost / maze, ducks, or other. So let us know. It's in the projectotron above, and it's in the comments section below.
Okay. And I think this is actually probably research for maybe one of Christopher's videos.
Possibly. You never know. You never know where I, take inspiration from.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So go ahead and vote in that poll. And I'd also appreciate it while you're down there. Go ahead and repost the space, share it out. You can also request a mic, join us up here on stage if you want to just hang out, or if you want to add to the conversation, completely up to you. It's just a welcoming place. And if you know someone or you've met someone that's kind of new here, share out the space to them, maybe in a DM, get them excited about using spaces, because this is really the fast track shortcut to meeting the cool people on here. And our spaces is a great place to do that. So much appreciated. And thank you to everyone who's joining us already. Great to see you all. Okay, so Rich, the topic is how to spaces. So you've been using spaces quite a bit. I mean, you're a co-host expert, essentially, and you do host occasionally. You do your little pop-up spaces from time to time, and then you rarely do subspaces. And I think that's underutilized. So there's like lots of aspects to it. And then also just jumping in and speaking on a space. And then I'm a big listener. I just really like listening. So I'm going to just go to you first. Like, what about spaces makes you so excited about it to always be participating, and you're always in a space, you're in some capacity. So
I do.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a little addicted recently. Well, in fact, yesterday I shared my screen with you. I was listening to 5 different spaces at one time. I just wanted to see what it would sound like, and it sounds like a lot of noise. So don't do that. Yeah, I really enjoy spaces just one at a time. And I like being able to kind of chill with the same people every day. I feel like I'm getting to know you guys. Like I'm getting to know you, Kate, for sure, and Christopher for sure, Caroline, and all the regulars who come into our spaces. Chris down there, Staida, I've seen you around X for so long, and Modest Minor, Gary, you are in every single space. Like you follow Kate around for some reason. We don't know why. Just so you guys know, Gary is like Kate's little pet. And so, yeah, I just like it. I like all the advice. I like the connections that I get with people. I think it helps me to be a better speaker because when I first started speaking in spaces, I had gone through 3.5, 4 years of COVID quarantine or something like that, and still trying to get back into my social norms. And so I think just speaking in spaces and just being among these people and putting myself on the spot helped with that in a lot of ways too. And yeah, just the amount of information and the type of people you can speak to in spaces on X is just, it's amazing. Like there are people who I've spoken to in spaces on X that I would likely never meet in my real life. We would never be in a situation where we would probably be in a room together or anything like that. There's famous people, celebrities, scientists, doctors.
There's me.
People from... What'd you say?
I said there's me. Never going to meet you.
Why would you say that?
Kidding. I'm kidding. Just playing around.
That was just mean. Rich, you're muted.
No, sorry. No, it's true though. It is true though, because I think that, if I wouldn't have met Christopher, I probably wouldn't have journeyed into AI as far as I have, because his creations inspire me. So that's, and not just him, you, Kate, I love everything you're doing with web development. And I've learned a lot of little helpful tips and advice from you and just the friendships. Yeah. It's just seeing the same people every day. I love it. So I'm going to end that here right there.
Sorry, I didn't
feel that.
Slam all your momentum into the ground there. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're very good at that. But yeah, it's all right. We appreciate a little someone here to rattle the cage. Sometimes that's one of another little pet peeve in spaces. And I try not to do it. I know I do it occasionally is when someone just goes on and on forever. So there is an art form to that little brief interruption being you're kind of repeating the same thing over and over. You're going around in circles here. Maybe you just need someone to just jump in for you on your behalf. And usually people kind of quietly appreciate that, if they've got their point across, I think. And some people just don't know how to end a sentence.
Yeah, it's just with a lot of people, it's endless tangents forever. And if you don't stop them, it will never end. The space will never end. We will be locked in this forever.
I think that Green Man named that type of person a Barbarella. So that's how I refer to that person, as a Barbarella.
And it's easy to do, and we can all kind of be caught up in that. Especially, there's a few things. If I get really excited about a topic, I just want to spew it all out, or I'm maybe nervous, and I think that's probably the more common reason for that. Is you're kind of nervous, or you haven't spoken to the people before and you just kind of lose control of what you're saying. And another thing is if you have to wait a really long time and you've written down some notes and you've got all these things you want to say and you don't know when you'll be able to speak again, that can be, where you want to just blurt out 10 different points. But the best, I do this, I just do one point and say, oh, well, that was it. And if the host wants to have a little back and forth conversation, I'll bring up a couple other points. And that's if I'm in the speaker role. When I'm the host, I just will spit out all my points until someone throws a hand up. That's how I operate in those different roles, which I think is a interesting thing to talk about too, is that speaker role versus being a co-host versus being a host. Rich, you're very good at being all those things.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was going to mention, as far as the conversation flows and everything like that, it can be hard when you are in a large space and there are a lot of speakers and the conversation is switching topics from one speaker to the next. And there's a lot of hands raised and you are the fourth or fifth person down in that line. And they are talking about something that resonates with you right there in the moment. And you have some, I'm going to say it, some alpha advice or some information that just has to be shared right there in that moment. What do you do? Do you just interject? Do you speak up? Do you start emojiing and waving your hand? What do you do, Kate, in that situation? You don't want to wait 5 speakers.
Wait, okay, say that again, because I was answering the poll. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So yeah, like a situation where, the topic's flowing from one speaker to the next, and there's like 5 speakers ahead of you, and what they're talking about in the moment, it resonates with you so strongly, and you have really important information to share about that specific conversation, and you don't want to wait 5 more speakers, which could potentially be like half an hour. Do you just interject? Do you start waving your hand, emojiing? Do you DM the speaker? Like, or do you wait? Like, what do you do?
Oh, I just wait. When I'm in the speaker role, I'm a very good little lamb. I'm not necessarily interested in interrupting. If it's like spaces where I'm very familiar, like with Aura's spaces, for example, sometimes if I just have a little quip or something, I'll jump in, or like a quick ad, I might just kind of jump in because I feel comfortable in that room. But if it's where I'm not comfortable, I'm honestly not super comfortable in that speaker role. So I will just put my hand up and wait. And I'll be listening when it's before my turn pretty intently to relate to whatever the previous speaker had said, so that I will adapt my point. If it's completely irrelevant and going back way too far, I generally won't add it unless I feel like, oh, it's still kind of relevant to the conversation. I'll kind of adapt what I'm saying to fit in, just because like at that point, probably we're on to something else. And that's what I try and do. That's my strategy. It's definitely not like the 100% correct strategy. Do what fits right for you. But I think coming to this, when you do get called on, just having 1 or 2 points max is the way to go. And hosts will really love you for that and always have you up on stage. Because if you get your hand picked and then you start rattling off 5, 6 points because you waited in line for 10 different speakers and you want to chime in on all of those conversations, it's too much. No one's going to relate to you. There's not going to be any potential for back and forth or really going deeper. So yeah.
This is a good thing to bring up, like what not to do in spaces. There are a handful of people who show up to spaces and they request to speak, but they do the same stuff every time, no matter what the conversation is. They bring up the same points, and that like they're just on repeat the entire time. And I know I actively avoid bringing those people up because I know it's going to happen, and it's not interesting, especially to people who are listening and been around for a while. Like they don't want to hear that again. Also, like if they can't adapt to the conversation, then it's just going to annoy and bore people to death.
Or just you. I mean, Christopher's a super picky listener. Like he will dip out like at the first sign of being.
Hey, there are 2 other people up on stage that can approve these people, and they don't do it either. So it's not just me.
Well, yeah. I want to welcome the speakers who came up on stage, and we got Staida up here who's got his hand up. So I want to give him an opportunity to chime in on this. So great to see you. Hey. Haven't seen you in a while, but how you doing?
I'm around. My work has slowed, and I'm having to work more on that and less time in spaces. I was doing a space every day for over a year, a trivia space, and just jumping into everything. But now I'm kind of relaxed, but I'm still around on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have regular scheduled stuff. But yeah, it's great to see everybody. I met Rich Silver, I think, in the first space that he spoke in. It was like, start speaking in spaces type of a space. I think. I mean, maybe not, Rich. I'm not.
It sounds right. It sounds right.
But we've known each other like 6-7 months now, and I love that about spaces too. You know what? You brought up 2 seconds ago. I think it was Christopher. Well, first of all, my waiting to answer that question, because I've been interested in saying something since like 3-4 questions ago, is a good example of what you were just discussing, I think, because I had to let it go. You have to sort of murder your darlings, right? As in writer's terms, like there's plenty of plot points or characters or little things you want in there, but your editor is ultimately going to strip them out. And that's good for the reader. And you just don't want to be boring. And you've watched like American Idol and X Factor and seen all those people who think they can sing. You have to be a really much better judge of how interesting you are. And then you brought up those people with their bags of tricks, right? These people who jump from space to space. I guess they're adulation seekers. I don't really know what to call them. They don't want to add to the conversation. They just want to hear their own voice and have people tell them how great they are or something. And they've got a couple of polished points that they want to use every time. It's total bullshit. So in an effort not to be whatsoever like that, and maybe keep that on your wall as a target that you think, I fucking cannot be that, pardon my language, whether the thing you wanted to say 5 questions ago is still relevant, in an argument sometimes or in a conversation, we're all guilty of doing this. I do it constantly. You are already trying to formulate a response while the other person is speaking. And I had to recognize about myself that was a terrible thing for me to be doing. I'm still absolutely nowhere near resolving it. But as long as I stay cognizant of it, I get better. But you don't want to be doing this. It's really unfair to them. They're making a point, unless they're idiots and you've already, you've already figured out what they're saying, like you may have done with what I'm saying right now. But you have to you have to let it roll. I also really like to foster spaces where there's interjection so that I can, because your first question was like, how do you know how long to go on or whatever? It's like until you're not interesting, but you really have to stay on top of that. Because some people can talk for 7 minutes and I don't care. And other people, I'm bored of them after 10 seconds. I've already heard it. They're just saying the same thing. But yeah, I think a good gauge is just to remember, and as a host too, the reason I host is, of course, because I want to speak all the time. But as a host too, if it's boring you, it's probably boring your audience because they're probably there for you and they probably have similar tastes to yours. So I think it's putting the kibosh on that stuff earlier is better than not. I think a lot of people, they just want to be polite or something, but I have to let it go. I have to murder my darling. So in a room that big where everybody's asking stuff and you got your hand raised because you're like, oh my God, and you're burning with passion about the thing that was just said. I promise you, I've been there like 1,000 times. And I think I just let it go. You have to. Or let it evolve into some new point that you then want to make finally when your hand gets raised. Don't try to force. Okay, here's my last analogy. When you're playing DDR or one of those types of games, Guitar Hero, where the notes are coming at you down a track, you cannot go back in time. So you can only hit the next right note. You can't try to replay the last 5 notes that you just missed. And don't ever try to do it in conversation. It's stunting. People can't stand it. It derails. It makes you embarrassed afterwards because you go, oh, good, I got the thing off my chest, but now I feel like an idiot because everybody's mad that I did that. So there's my answer to all of that. If any of that made sense.
No, it's good. It's good. Like the evolving your response and don't hold your thoughts as being like these precious things that can never be said again or shared somewhere else. Or
if you're super interesting, you're going to have something super interesting to say in 5 minutes also. I think the day I realized that, I was in the shower and I was going to tell my wife a story and I started already sketching it out the way that I was going to tell it. And then I asked myself, why are the analogies and the mannerisms and the way that you're going to tell this story, why are they better right this second in the shower than they would be if you just thought of it 5 minutes from now? They won't be. They'll be different. And I have this urge to keep it the way I envisioned it because I'm OCD, but you must let that go if you're going to talk in spaces all the time. You can't go, oh my God, what's the word? Or who is the actor? You can't stall like that. You have to keep rolling, hit the next right note, do the next right thing.
Yeah. And I would encourage people who have that feeling a lot. Like if you're relating to this feeling and you feel like you're not getting what you want to say out in other people's spaces, start hosting, start co-hosting, get a little team together of people that are reliable or cool and you can have a conversation with and do it. And then you can talk for as long as you want about whatever you want. I always come to spaces prepared to talk for 2 hours just by myself alone. So there's tons of points, even in the spaces I host, that I don't get to, but I do really enjoy hearing other people. And then also gives me a chance to take a sip of coffee and, have a snack, mix and mingle in the replies a little bit. So listening, boy, I'm total ADD on spaces now. It's amazing. When I first started, I couldn't do any of that. I had to just stare at the screen the entire time. And if I didn't, I would just completely lose the conversation. And it was bad, but now I'm able to balance it a little bit better. And I think has a lot to do with just finding where the roles you fit in. And like Rich, I was saying, is so good at every one of those roles of being just a great speaker to have around, a great co-host, and then also a fantastic host. Like he just has all those roles down. So you should try and experiment and dabble with all of those and find out where you feel comfortable. And if you really like co-hosting, I do enjoy co-hosting quite a bit because it's not a lot of the heavy lifting, but I'm also do really enjoy the idea of swooping in and saving the day when someone's rambling on too long or derails and all this stuff, I can be the little hero that saves it, or the host glitches out, I can take over. I kind of like that. So, you can try all these different roles, see where you fit and what you enjoy, and then you can do a little bit of everything. And yeah, but speaking for me, is probably just being in the speaker role on someone else's space is probably the most uncomfortable place for me personally. So, if you are awkward as a speaker, try those other roles anyway. You may find it better. So thanks for those.
There's no substitute for experience. That's, I think every one of us who does this a lot would tell you, like, you were always awkward at some point, no matter how easy it sounds now. Like, at some point I was totally afraid to hit the microphone and speak. And once you're over it, it's great.
Oh yeah. It's like getting weight lifted off of you. It is a great feeling. Yeah. I listened to Spaces for, I don't know, probably 10 months, maybe close to a year before I even spoke in one. And that first time I was just like a complete train wreck. I was sweating. I had written down all the things I had to say, like almost like a script, so I could just get it out. And then after that was done, I didn't speak in one for a long time. And then I tried it again. And then I just started hosting because I was like, I can't do the speaker thing.
It was too traumatic.
Yeah, it was. So, all right, let's go to the hands here. We got a really good friend and community member here, Gunky, up on stage. So lovely to have you here and looking forward to what you have to say.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of, I just said it on the other space. What's his face? Famous in my phone. I thought, I'll give that a go. I said, I'll pop back in the wee small hours for him and see if we can have a bit of a chat. But yeah, I'm very much like that. I actually just said before coming in here that I felt like a dam. I had now had so much questions and stuff to say after listening for sort of half an hour, but I just sort of blurted out a couple of sentences. And I've actually not much idea what you've been talking about apart from Spaces themselves. Something I'd be interested in. I'm doing this on a desktop with a headset. And I don't actually know whether I can host at all off of a desktop. I don't know whether I can co-host.
You absolutely can.
Oh, really? All right. That's going to be my next trick. The only other thing I just wanted to see if people had seen it and a bit of feedback. Did you see what I posted in the group for Morph, the way she's presenting AI?
No, I have not seen that.
Yeah, I have. I saw the post this morning. I didn't even get a chance to really look at them. So I'll pin that up above and you can tell us about it.
Well, I just, from a design point of view, it's just, she's got multiple boxes in I suppose you'd call it a sort of a mosaic of different elements of the same textures and style, all moving. Yeah, you'd have to see it to see what I'm getting at.
I saw that.
That's a really neat. Yeah, neat way of presenting
it is.
Elements.
Well, it's like, so Christopher, you know how like people do those SREF layouts for Midjourney? They'll do like a collage of different images. So it's just like that, except it's a collage of videos using an SREF image to create, or SREF to create the images, then turn the video into a collage. It looks really good.
Yeah, I have seen that. That's okay. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's cool. It's a good idea. Absolutely.
So it was just new to me then, like most things.
So I'm guessing that's probably done. I mean, you could do this in Canva pretty quickly. That would probably be my go-to for it. So you create just like a template and then you can drop the little video clips so that you're not taking the whole grid and putting it into Luma. You're doing the individual images, animating them, and then dropping them into this. And there's probably phone apps that do it too. And I pinned it up above here for anyone that's curious what we're talking about for that. But I want to get back to and then we'll get to Josh. I want to talk about the hosting Spaces on desktop versus on a phone. And that can be critical to the decisions that you make. So depending on what kind of space you are hosting, because there are certain glitches with desktop that don't happen on the phone. So Spaces work best on the iPhone, period. So if you have an iPhone in your possession or near you or accessible to you, use that to host your Spaces on and your life will be just fine. And I always update the app right before I open up the space just to make sure that I have the latest version. And so I rarely have issues. The only issues I do potentially have with that is if I have Wi-Fi on and then it somehow switches from Wi-Fi to cellular. Typically, I shut my Wi-Fi off, so I'm just on cellular. But I don't tend to have those kind of glitches because I'm not walking around. But if you're one of those people who's like walking around, driving in your car, going from a place to a place while you're hosting a space, which is like a whole next level thing that I can't handle. That's like another ADD level that I can't unlock. Then, think about, either just turning off Wi-Fi while you're hosting the space so you can just stay on that cellular signal if you're in a good area, or just sitting put with that Wi-Fi. But Christopher, you use desktop for spaces a lot. And then also Rich, you do too. So what lessons, quick little brief little tips for those can you guys give? And then we'll go to Josh.
Get a decent condenser mic like I'm using now. That's a good one. Also, if you're hosting a space and you want the little comment thing, for whatever reason, when you start a space on desktop, it doesn't give you the little comment area. So Kate found out that if you just start the space on your phone, leave that on, and then go to your PC and then connect to your existing space, and then just close the app. Don't end the space, but just close the app itself, and then you're good. And then you'll get the comment section on that you wouldn't get otherwise for whatever stupid reason.
Rich, do you have anything to add? Because you're a heavy desktop user for spaces too.
Yeah, I really like using desktop because, like Christopher said, the microphone, I have a nice microphone. And so I like to be able to use that. I was having, for the longest time when I started doing desktop spaces, I couldn't figure out how to pin things to the Jumbotron there as a speaker. Because if anybody doesn't know, when you are a speaker, you have the ability to pin something to the Jumbotron above everybody up there. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I learned that you have to do it in the same window that you have the space open. If you try to do it from any other open window, the option isn't available within that post. So if you're trying to pin something to the Jumbotron on a computer, make sure you're doing it from the same window that your space is being ran through. And that's my advice.
Projectotron.
Yes, that's it. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So there's all these little like fidgety little functions. So yeah, does that help, Gunky? Give you some confidence?
Well, I mean, what I'd like, if someone can do it, can happen anytime, any day. Just a couple of people to just have a practice space, just to sort of see what I'm clicking, this, that, and the other, and sort of walk through it. Because, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the desktop because everything I do is on the desktop, and so to add another layer to it, I don't. If I can do it on a desktop, I'll do it on the desktop. That's how I am. I am very old.
I like doing it from a desktop because not only because of the microphone, because I get to snoop people's profiles while I'm chatting with you, which I think people appreciate. Like, especially if you are a space host and if it's a space about like growing your account or something like that, then you need the ability to be able to look at their profile, what they're posting, to be able to give them advice. So yeah, that's what I really like about doing it on my computer. Like, I'll be in a space and I have like 3 or 4 different X windows open and I'm browsing, I'm chatting. Not always. A lot of times I'm like specifically listening to the space. And a lot of times I'll have a Word document open. So I'm actively taking notes from the space while it's happening, depending on my role in the space. But yeah, I think doing it from a desktop is very advantageous.
Yeah, I'll share my setup here, but let's go ahead to Josh, who's had his hand up and patiently waiting. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. It's totally fine. I was just going to say, I have 2 points. Rich, holy crap, thank you for saying that, because now I have a better understanding of how badly they're handling JWT tokens and session storage X, period. The fact that you can't utilize different windows while you're in the same application. That explains a lot, actually. There should be no reason like that this entire system isn't just web-based. You should be able to flawlessly go between both without an issue. Second, so Chris knows this, Nate down there, he knows this. I have been in a lot of spaces with them, both, and multiple other people. I think I need like a group or something. I can't host or co-host. It's kind of like driving somewhere with somebody, like not having your car to leave, like whenever you want. I don't know why. It's just how I feel. I like letting people speak out, like speak their thoughts on it and etc. But if something comes up in like real life, I have a real problem with the instant rug like thing, and I think that's partially to do with it. So I'm like, well, it's greater if I can keep it in someone else's court of responsibility to keep that space going, and then I have to go because of like whatever phone calls or other things in life. But yeah, it was something that popped up in my head, and I wonder if other people sort of struggle with that too, of like the responsibility that you do take on when you're hosting, not just like moderating your speakers, but just the time commitment, to specifically allocate this time to other people when obviously loads of other things are occurring in your life, at the same time. Like you said, those people driving around, like hosting spaces. I don't know how they do that. I don't think it's safe, but yeah, I was just curious if like other people felt the same way.
So I have a few tips on this. One is obviously to just schedule out that time, tell everybody that would be contacting you to, like I'll be locked down for this amount of time, whatever. The other one, and I use this a lot, and I think Kate and Rich also do, is that they don't have any lives outside of spaces. So that helps make that not a problem.
Well, I know like you and Rich, like kids, right? Like, I don't know how Rich like sits at his dude. You have like a wireless mic. You just set everything up, and then you run around the house to take care of stuff like, while you're doing it.
It's called neglect, man. Come on.
I can't even like. I program, and I have to have a laptop so I can chase and type at the same time, right? Like, I just don't understand like how some people can manage, all of the other responsibilities you have at that moment. And I guess if you can set aside time specifically, and everyone knows, like if it's always when the kids are at school or something along those lines, then totally makes sense. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good recommendation, Chris.
Yeah, I'll speak to this as how I kind of do it. Like the thing is with this, I can schedule it whenever I want. So I plan my day around it, and if it's not a time that's working for me, I'll move it, and it's fine. Like there's no rules except for the ones I'm setting. So I could make this a 30-minute space. I could make this a 4-hour space. I keep it for 2 hours because I think that's like a nice little sweet spot, because sometimes when it's an hour, the conversation's just finally getting rolling. And that's kind of when you start seeing people like dribble in, that because I don't know, it just seems to be just the right time frame. And then when 2 hours rolls around, it's like, okay, I kind of like burn out from this. And yeah, so sometimes like if I can't make it, like life happens, I don't do the space, like it's okay. Like it's, again, it's my own rules. So I'm going to just go by them. I do like to challenge myself to be like reliable and have a schedule and hopefully build an audience so that it's like, oh, okay, I know that Kate's going to be doing her space on Wednesday afternoons. And I enjoy just hanging out and listening and jumping in if I have an idea or whatever, so that that you can plan your Wednesday afternoon with that, or morning, depending what time zone you're in. So like I like that idea of being dependable, but that way. But there's been a few times when I haven't been able to do it on Wednesday. So I've canceled it, or I do offer it to Rich or Christopher if they want to host it without me, to do that as well. So, having a few good people around is fine. And then we do the pop-up spaces from time to time, where just throw it up and go for as long as we want to. And when Rich gets his, Thai food delivered, then we shut the space down.
That's exactly what I do too. Like if I have a space at all, it's like midnight, everyone is asleep. I'm like, it's like completely alone. But yeah, no, those are all great recommendations. I am curious if you make your spaces book a calendar every time for you, and you stick hardcore to that 30-minute or 1 hour session, and try to keep it as close to that as possible. Like, do you have hard stops most of the time?
Yeah, I try. I really try to stick to that 2 hours. I let it go over because I have no life, so I really have no excuse. But I try to pretend like I do. So, So I try and think of it in my mind. That's a hard stop. And I'm also being considerate to my co-hosts who do kind of have lives, I think, or they do a good job pretending. So I'm always considering them to make sure that, I'm not like, oh, I guess we're going to go 30 minutes over. But meanwhile, they're like, hey, I thought we were going to be done at 3 or 2 or whatever, so I kind of have shit to do. So I do try and just be considerate of that, people's time with that too. And yeah, so when it comes to be like 15 minutes before, I'm like, okay, we're wrapping this up soon. We're going to just finish out the hands and try not to let anyone else up on the stage. These kinds of things that do work, just get people ready for that wind down. Yeah, so that's how I do it. And I do have it on my calendar, like my Google Calendar. I have all my spaces that I do regularly on there. And yeah, if I need to delete one, I delete it because if I can't do it. So that's, a little bit of rules, a little bit of not. And I'm always just flexible with things. Yeah, give it a shot. Find a time that works for you. And, if it, like Christopher and I, when we first met and started doing spaces together, we did it once every 2 weeks, so, whatever you want to do. It could be once a month, right? All right. So we got some hands here. We got some more speakers up on stage. How's everyone doing? So let's go to Vladimir. How you doing today?
Hey, Kate. Good to see you. Good to see everybody else as well. And we haven't met before, but I don't know. Key I'm going to go with Key because I see Key in the name. Wanted to say I actually, I think about this a lot as well. And I think it comes down to expectations. So I do a lot of live streams, not spaces, but same kind of idea where people expect to show up and, they get some kind of thing and then they may get it or not. So it's the expectation you set. Do you want to be known as the person who does spaces while they do laundry and then, people talk about XYZ? Do you want to be the person who sits at the desk and delivers news in a 5-minute format and then everybody leaves? You kind of get to decide that by what you do and how you produce it and then sticking to it. If people have an expectation that you're a hardcore newscaster, but you show up walking your dog and chewing food, they're not going to trust you. And then they're going to not show up. I mean, that's my opinion, right? Like you kind of can make your own based on these guidelines. So I think it's about setting the expectations correctly. And it comes down to, and I think the big kind of decision to make first, and this is what I'm trying to figure out, is, am I going to be an amateur or a professional? And the difference is, the amateur, when shit gets tough, they kind of they start doing it for themselves. Whereas the professional, like when 9/11 happens, they're not with their family, they're at work. And that's sort of kind of, I think there's like a line for the kind of commitment you want to make. Like, do you want to commit to yourself or do you want to commit to others? And it's not an easy thing. I think like it's like it could take years to figure out what that is. Like I'm talking about for me personally, and maybe this reflects on others as well. But then you decide who you want to be, and then do that thing. And it comes down to like, can you deliver that process? You decide what you want to be known as. And I'm going through this as well. I'm trying to figure this out as we go. So it's good to know that you're having the same questions too.
I appreciate that. And that's great. Great feedback. My name's Josh, by the way. And yeah, it's a Key.
Nice to meet you.
So yeah, my name's Josh, just so you know, for the future. But yeah, thank you for the feedback. And I absolutely agree. I think when I try to do spaces, it's just winging it like a lot of the time. And I know how to be professional, and it's why I don't have time. I'm just professional in a different area. I just really like doing spaces. I think it's fun, and I know I could be really good at it. I just don't have the type of time I know that's required to do it, which then puts me in that weird predicament, I think, after the fact. So, but you are absolutely right. So thank you.
Yeah, I almost think that like that co-host position might be a good fit for you. So you can like help put together the space and all that stuff. But then you're also like, my co-hosts are always like, oh, I'll be right back in 5 minutes or whatever, or taking calls. I don't know what they're doing back over there. But, so that it's a little bit more flexible. So you're still like involved and, part of the space as a host. And you definitely, like my co-hosts, they can steal the mic from me and talk for as long as they want, whatever they want. And I'm totally comfortable with that as the host. So, that might be something to consider. So you could try, having spaces at other times that you have someone that can host and that you're there and be, there when you can be in other ways. So I don't know, but that's a hard partnership to find. It's because finding people to work with you is probably really the best thing. Because once I found these two here to just be my regular co-hosts. And now I don't have to worry about like that, because I know people come here for me, and that's great. And I can bring a certain number of people, but then having great co-hosts that can also bring their people, it's just awesome. So I appreciate it so much. It's really finding your little team is really great for spaces. And yeah, just reliable people.
And chat with them behind the scenes, like do a little DM group with you and your co-hosts. Like, it's so helpful. And I've joined a lot of spaces where they don't do that. And the difference between a space where the co-hosts and hosts are communicating in the background and they're not, like, it's a big difference. I think they manage the space better. Like Kate mentioned, if somebody needs to get up to answer the door or use the restroom, they can kind of let their co-hosts know with a quick DM, hey, I'll be right back in a couple minutes. Or if something else happens, or if they want to pivot the conversation a little bit, they can let them know through a DM really quickly and not have to do that publicly in the space. If you're having a problem with a space participant, you guys can kind of share that and talk about that in the background. Or if you have somebody requesting to speak that is a known problem starter, you can discuss that a little bit. So yeah, make sure that you have that communication going in the background. It's a huge benefit to your space.
Yeah, agreed. Communication, yes, so key to all of this. And yeah, genuinely being friends, like. It helps too if you really actually like the people you're hanging out with. That is a big help. All right, so we got some more people up on stage, more hands. Thanks, Vladimir, for that. Yeah, just because I love just driving that home. That message, it can be whatever you want it to be, and if it is just random pop-up spaces, then your audience will know, and that's fine. But if it's you scheduled appointment listening, then they know that too. So make it whatever you want. And people will adapt if they're into your content. So let's continue around to the hands here. I think Gunky was next, followed by Andy, and then Edward Lynn, who's back joining us. So that's great to see you. I think that's the order. Please let me know if I got that wrong. But Gunky, go ahead.
Well, I'll just say my DMs are open. Anybody wants to DM, and we'll just muck about with spaces. Yeah. Just not try and be professional. We'll just sort of fake it till we make it and just try a few things out. I want to do it. So if I've got someone to bat off, get my microphone levels, headphone levels, get comfy, swap around hosting, co-hosting, jump out of that space into them hosting a space. If anyone fancies playing around with it for half an hour or an hour, I guess sort of any time from, say, Friday evening, I'll be up for doing it. Just DM.
Yeah, very cool. This is the place to meet other people that are interested in doing this. So if you're in this space right now, you're probably like kind of curious about spaces. And Gunky is a great speaker. He always has fantastic questions. Like, I feel like I could be on stage with just me and Gunky and be able to have a conversation at least. And that's the bare minimum that you want to look for in someone to host spaces with. And that's probably going to be the first couple spaces. Now you've got the built-in community here of people, and we're hopefully following each other so that we get that notification that you're hosting a space, and we'll jump in if we can. But, the reality is the first spaces may only have you two up on stage alone, or just a few people maybe trickle in. So keep that in mind, however long you want to go for, and then understanding that that person that you are co-hosting with, you can at least have a conversation for that amount of time just between the two of you. And Gunky is definitely someone I feel like I could do that with, no problem. And yeah, getting in there and testing, making sure the mics are working, your systems are set up right, any glitches, you know how to troubleshoot those in the moment, that kind of stuff. Definitely recommended that. So hit up Gunky if you're interested, anyone out there. And also, Gunky, you can always hit up any of us. And if you are thinking about a space and all that, we can make sure that we're available, or at least jump in if we can to help you in any way we can. And that's what we do here in the community. So good luck with that. I hope you get that going, because you've been talking about it for a while.
Well, and you can post it if you haven't already, post it into the community. Gunky, post that you're looking for a co-host for a space, or just post what you're looking for.
Yeah, cool. I mean, believe it or not, I've got an entire alt account ready to go, which is a dedicated spaces show. Though at this point in time, I've never actually hosted a space.
There you go. Cool. All right. So, okay, I'm mildly distracted. I'm here. I'm still here. Okay, Andy, I was just sending you a DM, so might as well go to your hand.
I'm so glad. You know, it's funny. My last name is Wergedal, so I've always been at the end of the list. But with spaces, because my name is Andy, the A gets cycled to the top all the time. It's awesome. Okay, I've got a couple tips. Okay, so I think it was... Okay, so the first thing is, here's how to get an audience in spaces to get more things. The first thing is to be a listener. When you're a listener, follow everybody on the space, right? Do a lot of emojis. So the hosts and co-hosts see you emojiing, because even if there's like 100 people on the space, there's a little notification at the bottom that shows up that says, Andy, put a thumbs up. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second then is, try to be a speaker. Listen to what they say. Okay, so this is how to become a speaker. And then, by the way, at the end, I have a question for Kate, which I sent you. Oh, okay, I got you. But still, I'm going to ask you about that so everybody else know. Okay, so be a listener, do emojis, follow everybody. Turn alerts on for the host co-hosts so that you see when they have more. Then be a speaker in their space. Here's how to be a great speaker. And I'm literally doing this. I have 3x5 cards and a pen. I write down what they're talking about. I put down my notes so that I can tell you that, so that when it's time for me to go up, I can go, oh, here's the topics. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, so be a speaker. And when you're a speaker, here's the first thing you do. Thank you, Kate. Thanks, Christoph. Thanks, Rich. Thanks. I appreciate you guys having this space. Thank you so much for coming. Thank the host. Thank the co-host. Follow them. Second thing is add value to the conversation, so that you become known as a great speaker. You become known as somebody, oh, Andy's here. He's going to say something cool. He'll add to the conversation. Put him on the speakers. Let's call him up right now. Okay. Then the third thing is always say, follow up the conversation and then say things like this. Hey, for those of you who've just joined, if you haven't done this before, make sure you join the collaboration station, the community. Make sure that you follow Kate, follow Christoph, follow Rick. So get the alert so that when in other words, just tell everyone what you want your speakers to say about you when you bring them up in your host. Okay, then once you're a speaker a bunch of times, because trust me, all the hosts know each other. And all the hosts have all kinds of chats and pins and are on communities and in different things. We talk to each other. If there's somebody who's like really bad, trust me, we all know. But if there's also people that are good, we all know. And so that's what you do. You go find out and become a good speaker. If you don't know what to do, okay, DM me, DM Kate, whatever. Just send me a note and say, how do I become a good speaker? I will write all this out and send it to you so you can have a cheat sheet you can print for yourself. All right. Then once you become a speaker a couple of times, if you're really good, you'll be invited to co-host. Otherwise, you can ask, hey, when you're doing your next one, if you need a co-host, let me know. I'm happy to join. I've joined your spaces 10 times in a row. If you need a co-host, if your co-hosts don't show up, let me know. I'll be happy to co-host for you. And then be a good co-host, right? Being a good co-host is inviting people up, curating it. If somebody starts talking out of line, you shut them down, you mute them, you put them down into listeners, you DM in the background like, hey, cool, whatever. You keep the show going. Think of it, right? It's a show. It's a presentation. It's a thing that we're producing, right? The host is the producer. All right. And then when you're a host, try to duplicate all the same thing and find people who do that. Okay. So now when you're a host, here's a couple tips for a host, right? Pivot number 2. Here's pivot number 2. When you're a host, when you start your space, schedule your space beforehand. And then DM every single person you know, I'm having a space. I'm going to talk about this. If you're interested, set on the alerts. Let me know. I'm going to let you know a couple times that this is coming, and hit them up the day before, an hour before, 30 minutes before, 15 minutes before, 5 minutes. Just look at the standard email funnel when somebody else is trying to get you to a thing. Do the same thing. Don't invent new stuff. Copy Russell Brunson's method. It works, right? Okay. Invite everyone, invite the people. And then here's a super secret. Follow every single person who shows up on your space and make note of every person who spoke And afterwards, send them a DM and say, thank you for speaking. I appreciate it. I loved what you said. I'm looking forward to the next time. Let me know if you have any spaces. I would love to help support you. Engage at a personal level with everyone. It takes one at a time. But here's the thing. I've hosted 200 spaces. I've co-hosted 400 or 500 spaces. I forget what it is. I've been on 600, 700 spaces since, and I focused on this since September. This is not something that's out of role. We're talking about 6 months, 6 or 7 months. And now there's lots of people who recognize my name and lots of people who go, oh, Andy's here. Yeah, bring him up. He's going to say something cool. All right. Follow everybody. DM all the speakers, DM the hosts. Thank you for letting me speak. If you have any tips for me, please let me know. If I can do a better job, if there's something that you'd love me to say, let me know so that next time I can come up and support you and help lead the conversation on. I mean, it seems obvious and simple. Pretend like they're your best friend that you haven't seen in 6 or 7 months. You sit down at a coffee shop and you just want to talk to them. And then your other friends show up. And so you're like, oh my gosh, hey, Dave, I want you to introduce you to Bob and Thomas and Mary. Look, hey guys, come here. Look, this is David. He's so awesome. Engage and connect people together. Invite them, make everybody feel special. When you do that, that will make you an awesome speaker / co-host / host. Okay, now the last question is, okay, Kate, you're running a live stream. It's awesome. All it is a picture of the space, but I've been trying to do it while we're talking, and I've got, I've tried Streamlabs and Talk This and Obi, and I have failed because I can't synchronize the audio from the space to the live stream. And so when I talk, the live stream goes out at 1, and then there's a latency delay for the space, and it's, oh my God, it's so bad. Anyway, I've never seen anybody do what you're doing. I think that's a great idea. So how do you do it? Tell everybody how you do that.
Okay, yeah, the secret's revealed. And my dream is to have it be, get my co-hosts and I on a live feed with the space in there and take calls, like that kind of a old-fashioned type radio talk show, but with the video element.
Exactly, talk show.
But I can't do
talk show
it.
Format.
I can't do it. I can't figure it out because of that lag issue. I think probably what I need is to have whatever I'm using for screen recording to be up on stage with us so that at least that lag isn't there. But there's still the live stream lag. So I don't know. I don't know anything about that part of it. I do want to do that. But what I do is I just do a simple, I'll talk about my whole setup here because we were talking about the different setups people have. So I have an iPhone. So I'm hosting the space on my iPhone, and that's up on a tripod next to me. And if you do invest in one piece of equipment as a content creator, is just having a small tripod. I have it because I'm a photographer, so I just have them around my room. And I have a smaller one that I use for this. And yeah, it's way more than I need for a phone, but it works. And so I do highly recommend that. And then I can be hands-free, right? So I have my phone going. And then on the other side of me, here's my laptop. And here I can have my tabs open for X in my own account. And I can get into the notifications, which is the replies down below the space. I can engage at least with a maybe I don't have time to read everything, but I can just let people know I see you. I acknowledge your existence. And I think people do appreciate that as listeners and speakers when they do chime in. And if there's something there that catches my eye and I kind of remember it or I need ideas, I can always jump down into the comments easily without interacting with my phone and messing things up because I'm always scared of hitting a wrong button or doing something. The only thing I use my phone for is reposting the space and sending out maybe a DM or something. And with the space, where you can do share the space out. And what else do I do with it? Oh, pinning things, because it's just very easy to pin things up above from the phone. Like Rich said, there was that little weird glitch with the desktop. So with that, I also have StreamYard running. So I have another tab with StreamYard running. And with that, I have it connected to Facebook, YouTube, and X to multi-stream to all those platforms. And all it is I'm screen recording in a incognito tab. I'm logged in as Gary, which is one of my alt accounts, who's down there in the listeners. I'm logged in with him on the incognito tab. I'm screen sharing. So I just condense the screen down to, a mobile width on that window and screen share it as a vertical format and start the stream. So, it's like the most basic version of that possible. And I started doing that because I did want to record my spaces and have those. So I have the video recording, but most importantly, the audio. So I can repurpose these as podcasts and stuff very easily because I have it instantly after the space is done. And then also with that, I'm also just doing that. So I might as well live stream it because why not? It might bring people in. And I'm always trying to reach people because the reach with spaces is difficult. With the community, it helps. The alert goes out to community members, but not everyone's going to see every post. Not everyone's going to get the notification. Not everyone is paying attention at that exact right moment when they're scrolling the feed to see my post this morning, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm all about just getting it out as to many people as I possibly can in that moment. And some people will get that live stream in their feed, or they will get that notification that I'm live versus that I'm hosting a space, or see it when they're on their desktop. It comes up in the corner because the live streams are up above the spaces. So even on my own, here on my own computer screen, I'm seeing my live stream, but I'm not seeing my space. That might be because it's my account. But so there's these little like things that I don't know if it works to bring people over. It might. I think it does a little bit. And then some people might just want to watch it on TV, have the audio through their TV, and while they can be on their phone. I don't know. So I'm just trying to solve a bunch of problems that I don't know if they even exist or not, but it seems to be working. And so that's the big secret for how I do it. Did that help, Andy?
Yes. So first of all, thank you very much. That's awesome. I super appreciate all of that information. Which one of those do you record?
So I'm
Do you record
recording.
it from StreamYard, or do you record it from YouTube or the live stream, or which one?
Yeah, StreamYard is doing the live broadcast, and within that, it's already it's recording it for me. So I have it in a recording in StreamYard that I can download as a video recording, or I can download just the audio. So they make it very easy to do that. And then I also have it it's stored on my YouTube channel. So if for whatever reason I need a backup for it, I have it because it's stored on YouTube because it's streaming there. It's also stored on X. I don't know how long the live streams stay on here, so, and on Facebook as well. So, it's just another little backup of things.
Yeah, I love that. That is, I can't even tell you that this solves half of my problem. And when I figure out, by the way, there's a software called Loopback that you can get from Mac or Windows that will supposedly take two audio sources and synchronize them. One of the problems, I did get it synchronized once in OBS, the space and the live stream, but the space latency sometimes lags. And so it's not static. It's not like it's 6 milliseconds or 102 milliseconds. Sometimes it goes longer or shorter. There's sometimes glitches, and it makes sense that but it's dynamic is the point. And so I thought I had it set up, and then I was, fail again. But when I get that fixed, I will definitely share with you, because first of all, this is awesome. And I think what we're going to do, so we do a space so John and I do a space every day on AI, how to use AI in business at noon Pacific time. We created a AI in Biz Hour, the AI Biz Hour account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a account for that. I'm going to live stream from that account to all those places. So that way that account has all of those things you just mentioned. So I from my heart, thank you. With all of my heart, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, glad it's helpful. I think it's just what I am doing is like the most hack way to do it. There's some real nerds in this space right now that might know a better way or a different way to do it and all this stuff. So, but for me, it's like, I just want to be able, I had to do a quick thing right before the space started that I didn't know about. I had 5 minutes. I had to go do something and then come back and get all this set up. I was able to get all of it going and a minute and a half, 2 minutes tops. I like that. And it's a very simple kind of workflow. Whereas when you start throwing in all these different moving parts, then now it's becoming a little bit a bigger beast, which is fine. I just need to be prepared for that. So this is what I'm doing, is just a little hack way to get started. If people want to try and do it, just listen to the recording of the space. This will be also a podcast, and I will share the links down below for the podcast, so you can re-listen to these spaces anytime. And I edit out all the ums and pauses and stuff, so they're much shorter. You'll be surprised how much of that there is. And I cut out like the beginning where there's nothing going on, and just make it so you can listen on the go wherever you're at. So that's how I do repurpose these spaces. So yeah, thanks, Andy. Some great questions there. And he does some amazing spaces like he was talking about. And the communities he's involved with are also really awesome, and they do lots of great spaces. So if you're into AI, you're into growing as an entrepreneur, all that fun stuff, great spaces always. You can follow Andy around for those. And I'm going to just go ahead around to the rest of the hands here. I've got everyone written down. I'm going to let Rich jump in real quick as co-host, and then we're going to go to Edward Lynn.
Well, thank you very much, Kate. Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Andy. That was great information. Everything you shared, that was awesome. And yeah, we're definitely going to have you back as a speaker anytime. Like, please come back to our spaces and share more info like that with us, because it was a pleasure. And then Kate, your live broadcast there, what I just realized is like there's the live chat going on there. So I shared your live broadcast to the Purple Pill because it kind of offers another level of engagement for the audience. Like, because people are listening, and some people maybe don't feel comfortable speaking, but they want to be a little more engaged than just dropping a comment. So they can come over to the chat and they can live chat, and I'll keep that open, and I can chat with people, and maybe we can get that to grow in future spaces. So yeah, I love that you're doing this. Anyway, that's all I had.
Yeah, sometimes I do jump in the chat because StreamYard, I can see the chat. Unfortunately, with X and the API or whatever, I can't reply to chat messages within StreamYard. So I have to actually open the stream in my browser and everything, which kind of like it gets a little overwhelming for my laptop anyway. So I don't always go in the chat, but I do see the messages. So sometimes when I see the messages, I do shout out the people in the chat. So I will see those. And there's people who watch on YouTube, which is incredible. If they, want to join us, the link is pinned, and you just click on that link. It'll take you over to X right in here, and you can jump in the conversation with us because we are live. So anyone watching over there, you are welcome. And we are talking about X Spaces, which is the platform that you're seeing on the screen right now. And we are communicating, like we're on a big conference call. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks for all of that and reminding me of that, Rich. A lot of moving parts. So we've got Edward Lynn back in the space. We met a week or so ago. So good to see you. How are you doing today?
Okay, it's the best day of my life. Thank you for asking. And Rich, good to see you. Christopher, Andy, good information. Little Missy, Mr. Vladimir, Carolyn, all of you beautiful people. I think we had 18 people here at one point, and we only have 7 people who put something in a purple pill. I think it's important that when we are holding spaces that we all participate. That's the reason why. So one of my motivations when I come to spaces is to make sure that I make the people who are hosting or co-hosting comfortable by at least participating. If even I'm in listener mode or I'm on the speakers panel, I just want them to know that I'm present, I'm listening. And if there's a tip that you pick up or whatever, you could always drop it into the purple pill, or you can repost it so that you get more people to come into space. That's one of the areas. Andy, I've also been to I'm in the death care profession, guys. Some of you may know that. And I actually use spaces for that particular reason, because my topic is very niche. So I do get people to come in. I do a thing called opportunities, necessary conversation, and help wanted. So you probably see me host some of those sometime. And I've only done a couple so far. But the reason why I do that is because opportunities, most people do not realize that there are opportunities out here, not only on spaces, but like what Kate was saying. And Kate, I do recommend you to do this either on Zoom or on YouTube. Do a live session of how you connect all those things, going to StreamYard, going to live. Just do that as an illustration so that people can actually watch you do it all. so then they can actually repeat it. That would be actually very value added for all the people in the space. Instead of hearing words, they actually get to see it, because a lot of people get things done more by seeing. And that's what I've done from Facebook Live to Periscope, Apps Television. Now I'm on Chatter, where these are all live streams. I also use a lot of Zoom. So I do a lot of what we call necessary conversations seminars, where I get people from X and from WhatsApp app to come to the live Zoom. I do it every Thursday, and I get a lot of families coming in from all different platforms, because for me, Spaces is a place to have a lot of people, but a lot of people, I'm always trying to find out what's the value are you trying to accomplish? Because I want to add value, but I also want to come to the space and get value. So when I come in, Kate, every time I hear you guys speak, I get value. And the value that I need is how to be much more visible, how to be much more out there. So I do have StreamYard, I have all these different things. So how to space, I also done probably 5 or 6 live spaces where I go live. I just did one this morning for 23 minutes where I'm walking around my community, but I'm outside, I'm in Southern California, it's beautiful, and I get people to come in, and then I can just repurpose that not only on live, here on X, I share that on my YouTube channel, I share it on my different accounts, on my Instagram, on my LinkedIn, and then it helps me get more people to follow me on X and all my other platforms. So whatever you do live, where you are talking or you're doing something where people can see it, audio visual is huge. It just helps you gather more people. Words are only 7% of communication. Okay, 7%. Tone is 38%. Body language is the rest, 55%. So if people get to see you, they're going to resonate with how you are in present. That means that present helps you. Like I tell my team across the globe, because I deal with funeral homes and cemeteries everywhere, that the word present for us, presentation, the first 7 letters is present. Every time I come into a space, I want to be a gift to that space because I'm a present. Whatever I'm going to unwrap today in this space, or somebody's going to unwrap the gift to me because I'm present, that's how I see everything. So how do I space? That's how I space. I want to make sure I'm posting, reposting people's posts, liking people's things, sharing this, like I already shared this space out. I says, hey, if you want to come and learn, your voice is valuable. Come and learn, come and pick it up. Why? Because the more we reach out to people and help them motivate, it gets them going. And I share this with you guys so you know, I've been in death care for 36 years. Okay, that means I deal with a subject that nobody wants to talk about, no one wants to deal with, but I still get to communicate it because of how I communicate it. It's called necessary conversations. Okay, food for thought, the talk of a lifetime. Why? Because people don't want to engage in this, but since I've been on space since 2016, many people reached out to me and says, I've lost my dad, I lost my mom, I lost somebody. And that's another way that I've gotten to really participate in the family side of spaces. Because whether we like to admit it or not, we all face this very big challenge. So I have a big circle and network of attorneys and financial planners and realtors, because a lot of people go through things at the time of death that they don't know what to do. And that's what we try to do. That's our network. And that's how I use spaces. And thank you again, Kate, for hosting this and How to Space. And again, like I said, do a live on X. Just do a live. Get your face out there. You may not like it, but as you do it, it gets better. Post yourself. I do that also. I do 5 posts. I do the thought of the day. Okay. I do the word of the day, the scripture of the day, the principle of the day. I do that every morning and I just post it. So that right there, I get a lot of different traction. So if no one ever comes to host my space, they know that I was present on the space today, no matter what. So if I don't get a chance to come on spaces, I was still present on spaces just because I posted something. So that's what I add. And Andy, thanks for your tips too, because I think that the more we live stream these things and get people to see it, I think that helps us all. And like I said, Kate, if you can put that together, that little 20 minute Zoom to where you show people how to connect all these things. So that's a big value added to Grow Spaces. And everybody, have a great day. Welcome to Beautiful Wednesday. And good morning, because I'm still in Southern California.
Yeah, thank you for that. Excellent advice. I absolutely agree with all of it. Yes, tutorials, walkthroughs, screen shares. I'm like so into that. I it's like, how much can I actually do? I want to do it all. And that is definitely one of them on my list. And I used to live stream a lot, and it does make those connections, those deeper connections. I would do spaces. I would do a space a week, and I was doing 2 live streams a week, kind of scheduled out and building up like audience that way. And it works. It really works. It's really effective. I miss it a little bit, but life kind of gets in the way a little bit of these things. So, because with live streaming, the thing is you need a little bit of a setup going on. Spaces is great because you can just like throw it up. I'm in my pajamas. I'm on my bed with my laptop here, super casual. Don't have to worry about like hair and everything. So I'm not, like I want to be authentic, but you guys don't want me that authentic on right now.
Well, Kate, you would get much more followers, Kate, because that'd be real life. You see, that's real life. So to me, I think that's what people like. Exactly, they like authenticity. I think sometimes we just do that. It's just funny. That's all.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty casual with like how I present myself already. So but I want to just agree with you 100% and encourage other people that if you are thinking about doing this kind of thing, X is a great place to experiment with it, especially with the community and everything, because we'll be always positive and encouraging. And if you want, advice and criticism or just recommendations that can help you, like we're always here to do that in a way to help you grow instead of just these, open-ended compliments saying, yeah, you're doing great, when actually like, no, you could improve. Like people here are suggesting things that I could do to make this better. And I really appreciate it. I will take those and do what I can with it, right? There's a lot of things I want to do that I don't necessarily can do, or I don't have time for, or I hope to in the future. Like I definitely want to be live streaming more, and that's going to be happening in the future. I just can't do it right now. I have it all scheduled on my calendar to do it every week, and I just can't. So, it's still always back in my mind. And I encourage people to push themselves to do that kind of thing. It's definitely easier for me in the summer because I'd like to be outside and do that kind of stuff. So I hope that's what I'm hoping to do. Great advice, all of it, fantastic. And incorporating, the visual with the spaces, because space is so powerful with the audio and the voice. But that other piece is that human connection of seeing someone's face, seeing how they act and move and everything. So great stuff. And we had Little Miss Smarty Pants up here on stage. You had your hand up earlier, so I want to give you a chance to speak if you can. If not, I understand because you were waiting a while. Gone. All right. So never mind. Oh, back. Maybe there was a mic issue. So I'll give her a chance to cycle through. Okay. Are you there, Little Miss Smarty Pants? I wanted to give you a chance to speak if you wanted it, because I saw your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I came home, and as soon as I walked in the house, I rugged. So I just walked right back out. And I left and came right back in, and I was right on time. So hello, everyone. I came because of Andy, because I love Andy. Andy is a very smart man, but he's more than just smart. He's generous with his knowledge. There's a lot of people who they'll charge you for every piece of knowledge that they have, which can be very annoying. I don't like those people, but Andy's not like that, and you can learn a lot from him. So I came because I saw him in your space, and I have to say, Kate, you have awesome taste in typography. Like, I love how your name looks. But I wanted to say that I co-host a lot of spaces, and I used to host spaces. I'm like an OG, like at work, from hosting spaces like when no one else was hosting spaces. But one thing I find that drives me crazy about people who host spaces that I co-host, because I am that co-host. I will shut you down. I will mute you. I do DMs. I do all of that. I'll bring people up. I will say, hey, you only have 1 more minute. Like I will set a timer on my phone. Like I don't play. But people who don't give you like an expectation of time, I have co-hosted for people and they want to go over 4 hours. And I'm thinking to myself, do you not have a life? Because we have lives and they do this more than one time and they think you want to keep co-hosting for them, and I'm just like, are you insane? Because like it's a Saturday or it's a Friday night and I have a family like, or I just want to watch a movie or binge watch true crime, I don't know, but I don't want to be on Spaces listening to people, my son died and I got in a car accident last week, and we're talking about like happiness or something. And then they just come in and they kill the space. And I'm just like, I will mute them. I swear I will. I can't take it because it's just like single topic. But these people will go for like 4.5. One person went for 5 hours. I will leave as your co-host. And I just want to know what you all think, because if I was co-hosting for you, because I have boundaries, I'm sorry. If I'm co-hosting for you, I think it's the host's job to set an expectation for how long the space is going to run, how many minutes each person can talk, because, you know, you do have people that are very loquacious, like I am right now because I took my Adderall. But so what would you all do in that, you know, in those instances that I brought up?
You're right. I would do that exact thing. I would get out as soon as humanly possible. Because, I mean, you know, I'm all for having sympathy, but I don't. I would question the kind of audience that would stick around and listen to someone's misery train. Like it seems a little, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like obscene. Yeah, obscene.
Yeah. So I was in a group, still am. I mean, but we just haven't done Spaces in a while, where they would average around 4 hours, and it worked for me on occasion, and I was able to do it, but it was because of the timing. It was the morning. I'm kind of just doing kind of busy work on my computer, so I can half listen. So I was able to co-host in those scenarios or just chime in as a speaker. But as far as doing that regularly, no way. And I don't expect that from anybody, because like, yeah, if someone did that to me, I would probably just have to leave. But I also, anyone that I talk to about potentially co-hosting for, I've kind of got to know, I think, in Spaces a little bit. So I kind of know how they roll and what to expect. You know, are they getting to the point, or are they known for running 6-hour spaces? So in that way, I would be kind of upfront about it. If they are typical ones that do the occasional longer space, I'd be like, hey, I can do like 2 hours, you know? So if you want to do that, I'll be there, and then I'm going to have to dip. Or, you know, I just set those expectations and those rules kind of upfront, so that then they don't get upset that I had to dip out and there's no like drama or anything. And, you know, yeah. So, but I think I kind of, once you get into those modes, you get to meet and mingle with the people that are like that. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone here I would co-host for, because I know they're not going to go for 6 hours. I have a feeling anyway.
Well, it's just so simple to ask beforehand, like to communicate that beforehand. Like you said, set the rules. And you know what? If you are asked to co-host the space for somebody and they haven't told you how long it's going to last, just ask them ahead of time. Be like, is this going to be hour space, 2 hour space? Like, what are you thinking? Do you care if I pop out after 2 hours? That's fine. Some hosts that do those like super long spaces, they don't care if their co-hosts cycle, and they should be better about like communicating that ahead of time. Like, you know, so and so is going to do the first hour, then so and so is coming in for the second hour, then we got so and so, you know, finishing up with the third hour. Like, but yeah, it's all about communication. That should all be communicated ahead of time.
Or if there is
I agree. Thank you.
or if there is no plan, just you know, say that too. Also,
thank you. I just thank you. All of that. Yes, because communication is key. And I think you just need to be cognizant of everyone's time. Telling your sob stories that is obscene in the middle of a space is not about that. You can DM the host if you need a pat on the back or a hug privately. And then if you want the co-host to say something specifically or you know, speak on a topic, I think you should let them know ahead of time, because I have been asked to read from books like that I don't have opened. Can you read pages blah 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 blah? I'm like, are you insane?
What do they want you to read?
Just whatever book they're talking about. Like I don't know. Sometimes it's Bible passages. Sometimes it'd be about Karl Marx. It'd be whatever. And I'm just like, is this for real? Like, are you okay? So yeah,
that's really weird.
I'm like,
because like even priests don't do that. Like they actually talk about the stuff, right?
Yes. But I do want to tell you something funny real quick before I mute myself. Last week I was in a space. I wasn't co-hosting, but the person had ran for over 4 hours. The space ended because X ended it. And then they started again and went for another 4 hours. And I was like, all you people in there have no lives. It was a Friday night.
Well, I don't know if you know famous in my phone, but he has been doing 24-hour spaces every Wednesday, and today is Wednesday, folks. So after this space, go find him. Famous in my phone. He goes.
Oh
by
no,
Dizzy.
I've been in there.
Oh, have you? Yeah.
A lot of times, yeah, he'll just be talking to one other person, and then people are just in there as listeners, and I'm like, what is this? So
It's working for him though. He's having a good time with it. So I think it's just, that's what it's about. It's about what works for you and just making sure that you are respectful with other people's time if you ask them to be a part of whatever you're working on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I get the idea of the 24-hour space. It's his thing that he wants to try and he's experimenting with, and he's got the time for it. He's retired, so he's looking for creative things and meeting new people and stuff. So I get the concept, not for everybody. And what's kind of cool about those is I could pop in, when I'm on my lunch break and have a minute and say hi and see what's going on and come back again later and talk about my day. And, I can see that as someone that, I don't have that much going on day to day. I work freelance at home. It's kind of quiet here. So it'd be kind of fun to just pop in and stuff. So everyone's lifestyles are a little bit different and can do things. So it's just catering to that. Could I do it? No. But 2 hours is my limit. And it was funny because Edward Lynn was up here talking and he left a comment that 90 minutes is his limit. So, everyone has their own thing and it just make it work to fit your vibe. And finding co-hosts or co-hosting for others. I've done that for some, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You really have to gel in a certain way that is a little bit different than other things. Kind of comparing it to, you have friends, right, in real life. And I don't know if you've ever been working somewhere and you've had a friend that needs a job and you're like, oh yeah, I can hook you up with a job. Come work with me. And then you work with them and you're like, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with my friend?
I don't work with friends. No, I was in cosmetics for 20 years and I worked for the prestige brands. I Estee Lauder and L'Oreal, and I would travel, and so many people would ask me for a job because in cosmetics it's who you know, and I'm like, yeah, no. No, I can't stake my reputation on you. And then usually I did it one time and then I had to tell the person, yeah, you're not going to work. And I was like, never doing this again, because some people, they just, they're not you. They don't work like you, how you know them as a friend is completely different.
Yeah. It's a really interesting dynamic. And I've done it a bunch of times for friends. And, some of them are great. And then some of them, it's like, oh my God, this is a living nightmare and I can't get out of it and all kinds of things. So you have to do that test run. Like we were talking about with Gunky earlier, if you have some people that you're connected with on X and you want to give spaces a shot with them, do a little test space and no pressure, keep it to a light amount of time. Like, oh, we're just going to go for 45 minutes or an hour or something, and we'll see how it works. And if you can have a conversation and keep it going and keep it mildly interesting. And, and if they're reliable and all this stuff. So, it's a little bit of experimentation. And then sometimes you just get really lucky and meet some people that are just all those things in a nice little package. I think it's kind of rare though. So I like to say that I'm really lucky that I've met these co-hosts here that are here with me. You go ahead.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but Spaces reminds me a bit of a long, long time ago. I used to sit in a place called Old Reading in West London. You could look out over the whole of that part of London with a CB radio in the car with a couple of friends. And we just you'd go on Channel 14 and be 1-4 for a copy and you get talking. And we used to start going up every Friday night after the pub. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the great things about Spaces, we were getting trolled. This is like more than 40 years ago. We'd have people, they knew we were doing it and they would deliberately, we had people driving in the car next to us with a really powerful boots, as we used to call it, just wiping out our signal, just to ruin it for no other reason at all. And I've seen that in Spaces a few times. They're no doubt they're straight off to the next space, but at least you can block them. But yeah, Spaces does remind me a bit of that. And it reminds me a bit of being in a gaming clan, just a little backwater clan on a little game we were all playing in TeamSpeak. And some of the most fun I had was when the game was crashing and we were kind of stuck and we didn't know whether the competition we were in was going to continue or not. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning and everyone just started to go into silly phase. So I'm sort of, famous in my phone. It's an interesting thing he's doing. I find it very interesting. You go and pitch him an idea later on to sort of Photoshop in parallel with the conversation and then see if we can create something.
Well,
but yeah, great. Spaces are brilliant. Oh, the only other thing I was just going to say quickly is I wish there was a Titanic emoji because I just sunk. That's why I disappeared.
What were you going to say, Rich?
I was going to say, yeah, that's one of the great things about what Famous is doing is that, like, if you ever need to chat with him or run something by him, like on a Wednesday, you can find him. Like, he's on X in that space. So I think he is going to develop a following. Like, if he is, that's the thing, consistency does pay off. And if this is his shtick, and he's doing it every Wednesday and he's consistent about it, he's going to develop a following and it's going to become a packed space eventually. I think it's a cool thing, cool experiment at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's owning it. He's not saying it's like ruining his life. It's not miserable about it. He's really excited about it. He says he does get tired, the next day or whatever, but he's genuinely interested in doing it. And it's not like a gimmick, right? It's like he really likes the concept of it. And so I'm super excited for him to see where it goes and what he can do with it. Yeah, because it's really an interesting format, being able to jump in, jump out, never know what the topic's going to be, kind of like stopping like the Central Perk coffee shop and friends, just like pop in.
I was just going to relate it to a bar, like Cheers. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so Famous is Sam Malone there, always there, but he's there to listen, more than talk. So yeah, that's why we like it. I want to just thank everyone for joining us today. It's been a really great discussion and talking about how spaces have really been an important part in all of our journeys here on X. I think we can get into that a little bit because I think for all of us here, me and the co-hosts at least, I can speak for, I think, about this is how it did kind of open up a whole different world of X and all kinds of opportunities and really making those real connections with people, real people. And the power of that, when you unlock that on this platform, it does become that neighborhood bar or that neighborhood coffee shop that you pop in, you see the same people, and you don't feel like your day is right when you haven't popped in and said hi to them, so I think there's something to that, and we can get into our stories maybe of how spaces, changed how we use X. But I want to quickly just point out the pinned posts up here at the top of the space. And you can also find these down in the purple pill. And it's just a little bit of self-promotion for us because, we are doing this out of the goodness of our hearts because we do love it and we do like actually hanging out. I think me, Christopher, and Rich just like kind of hanging out sometimes. So I think it's more about that than anything else. But we do like to provide value as well. So to do that, I'm adding some extra features for the community to kind of give some more for you guys. And then also some calls to action if you want to support us in other ways. So Up above, I have pinned the links to where the replays are found as in podcast form. So I'm not saying you have to go there and listen to them. If you're already here in the space and you're already listening, that's fine. But there are maybe some episodes in there that you missed or some other things that you might want to go back to. So you can listen to those on the go, anywhere, your car, whatever, or just follow to support, right? So we're trying with this to possibly reach people outside of X and bring them here, because this is kind of a unique feature of being able to have a live conversation and join in and then be part of a podcast. It's kind of a neat little novelty if you think about it. So visit those links if you use those platforms, whichever ones you prefer or all of them. Follow, subscribe, give a rating, those kinds of things. On Spotify, you can leave a comment. If you got something out of it, leave that. Much appreciated. And then also we have our affiliated partners. So these are affiliate links to apps that we all use and can speak to as being very good that you can try out with the free trials. I think they all have a free version as well. So there's no pressure to buy anything. But if you try them out and you're like, oh, this is actually useful to something I'm working on, then you can consider buying it and we will get a percentage of that. And that's a way you can support what we do. So we have Luma Labs, which is AI video and image generation. Very cool stuff. We all love that. Opus Clip, which is really, if you're a video creator, you got to check out Opus Clip and use their demo. If you're doing long form content, you pop it in there and it makes short form videos out of and it uses AI and it does a fantastic job. It does it all. It puts captions. I had a live stream of me, my face in the corner, right? And doing a tutorial, and it automatically repositioned me so that my face is half of the screen and then the screen share is the other half of the screen. I don't know how it does it, but it did it. It's such a cool thing. So, and it'll automatically pick out like important bits. You can even prompt it. It's really powerful. So if any of that sounds like interesting to you because you're creating long form content and you need to clip it up, who has time for that? I don't have time for that. So this is a nice shortcut. And then the other one is StreamYard, which is what I'm using to screen share, do live streams, to put the live stream out to multiple platforms, all that stuff. So appreciate it. If you are interested in any of those, just use those links. I also have pinned up above the space for Sunday. So I did fix the time. Thank you, Gunky. I had it set for 6 a.m. No. That would not happen. 6 p.m. on Sunday Eastern time. So you can RSVP for that one. I'm not sure of the topic yet. And then also a reminder to vote in the poll. So make sure you do that. And we'll discuss that at the end of the space, which will be coming up in about 20 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much all for listening to that spiel. It's much appreciated. There's also lots more. And I'll talk about other things that you can do at the end of the space if you're interested. Now, getting into what I was thinking about as a question for us here up on stage is, what was it about? Okay, spaces. We maybe started as a listener, became active in spaces, and then how did it change how we use this platform? So, Christopher, I don't know if you want to talk about your experience in spaces when you first started.
Yeah, certainly. Like I would say before I did any kind of spaces, any kind of like traction I had was very, very minimal. Like it was only when I started jumping into spaces and actually talking that I think I found actual friends. And some of them are actually in the listeners still to this day right now. Got Josh and Nate there. Hello, guys. Yeah. So making real friends, I think this is the only way to do it. I mean, DM groups, you might get lucky with that. You know, a lot of them turn into like people selling stuff. But yeah, this is where I found real long-term friends and real networking opportunities. It's like the only way I found to like any kind of money that I've made outside of this platform trying to do what I'm doing. A lot of that stemmed from spaces. So yeah, if you want to make headway, if you feel like your content alone isn't enough, or it's just not getting visibility, I mean, it's because no one cares. We talked about this last time. Like they care about you before they care about your content. And then I've seen this a lot on YouTube recently. been thinking about it. There's a bunch of guys that do like lore videos for the stories of certain video games. The one I think of is Skyrim, right? Like, there's a lot of like secrets and cool stuff, and that content is everywhere out there, right? But I will specifically go to, there's this one guy on YouTube called Epic Nate, and I'm getting the same story. Like, they're all saying the same story, but I go to him specifically because of his personality, because of his twist on things and his opinion on things. And if that's not there, if that's not present, your personality isn't present on any of that stuff, and it's just like uber professional, then there's nothing for them to hold on to. It's just the information, which you can get anywhere. So yeah, be thinking of that when you're putting together your content, like what's something that they would only get from you, and they would only get your personality from you.
Yeah, such great points. And that was really a tough one for me, because I felt like people aren't getting my sense of humor. They're not getting my sensibility. They're not getting like the little winks I like to do in my content. They're not getting me. Like, what is it? And I knew all along it's because I'm, it's my voice. It's my in person. When you see my face, when I'm talking to you, that's when I get that, all the things I say and do and the weird things and all this, that's when I get that little smile or like weird blink that people do when they're like, I can't believe you just said that kind of stuff. Or like, I don't get it. And then that makes me laugh too. So I was like, okay, I can't do just the text thing. I have to do video. I have to do live stream. I have to try spaces. Like, I have to be able to connect with people on here, because it just was not working. Text posts only, and pictures and little videos of saying, hi, how you doing today? That kind of stuff. It works. It does work, because people get to know you a little bit that way too. But the live interaction is a whole another level. And it really, really changed things for me. Absolutely. 100%. And my favorite part of it is you don't know who is listening, right? There's a lot of these anonymous profile pics and names that you don't know. People can listen anonymously. So you don't know who's there. And then you also have the opportunity to go up on stage and speak to some of the like most amazing people in like the tech industry and AI and all, name your niche that's active on here. It's so cool. You could just like get known as someone who speaks in spaces, that hosts your own space. Then people kind of just vaguely know you. And then you are able to request the mic and get up on those stages and add your thoughts and get to know some of the most brilliant minds. It's really amazing. Such a cool, powerful feature for that. Like, where else would that ever happen unless you got somehow stuck in a cab with someone just randomly? So I'll never get sick of that novelty of X. And yeah, so let's go to Rich. Maybe you have some thoughts on how, when you first started in spaces, or what drew you to it. Like, did you know, like, oh, I need to do this to make real connections, or was it something else?
No, it wasn't that at all. It was just listening to, I think the first space that I started listening to actually was the artists on the chain space. And they're a really big community on X. I think they have like 200,000 members or something like that. And so their spaces, when I first came onto the platform, were really big. And there were a lot of really interesting artists just from all sorts of different areas talking about like what they work on, sharing their creations and stuff like that. And I really wanted to talk about like the artwork that I had created, and I wanted to, step up and share that. And so I eventually got the guts and I did it. I requested the mic. I went up there and I talked, and Bobby Bicker, she was the host, and she's so inviting. And like, she's so easy to talk to. Like, it doesn't matter if you've ever spoken in a space or not, like she'll get it out of you. And so from that point, then I was kind of hooked, and I still had a lot of anxiety though. It took me a while to shake that anxiety, but eventually spaces have become like an integral part of my experience on X. I'm just going to reiterate what both of you have said. It's where you meet people. It's where you make those genuine connections. It's a good way to grow your account. You have a lot of great opportunities to speak to interesting people that you normally wouldn't meet. And it's a really good way to engage in group learning. So yeah, I think I love spaces. Yeah. So There we go.
Yeah, that reminds me, another great thing, besides just being like, oh, I can talk about how I use spaces and everything, you can also host spaces on things you want to know about that you don't know about. And people will show up and tell you what you need to know, which is a really cool aspect of these, which is a lot of fun. And that's how you can meet people too outside of your little group. Fantastic for expanding a network. And that's why I do it, because I'm kind of trapped in a little bubble on my timeline. Can't get out of it.
We should do that. We should do that. I want to do like a filmmaking thing because I don't really want to pay for it, but I want to learn it. So like instead of going to college, I could just do that.
Yeah. And I'm kind of getting into the idea of interviewing people on stuff I don't know about too.
Sorry to jump in. Whoever said the filmmaking thing, I made friends with a screenwriter on here a few years ago. I'm still friends with him. He's awesome. And he's written some of the movies we've all seen. So if you do that, make sure you DM me and I will invite him.
Awesome. Sounds great.
See, there you go. And another thing to kind of like when people talk about manifestation and all this stuff, like the saying things in space is a great way to manifest stuff. Cause like you have an idea, you're like, I don't know. I do this all the time in spaces. It's like, I kind of have this idea, I put it out and I see what comes back. A lot of the times nothing. And then I'm like, okay, then maybe there's nothing there as far as when it comes to creating content on X or other ideas I have. Because sometimes I'll talk about something like Christopher just did there, and then instantly someone chimes in. And I've seen it a lot too with speakers when they just kind of put out questions or general thoughts. And then all of a sudden someone just appears on stage and is like, hey, I heard someone talking about this. Yeah, great connections always happening and meeting people in different subjects and stuff. And I do like that idea of, filmmaking space. And we could put that together and maybe just put it out there and see who we can get. And that would be cool to get some of those questions answered. Yeah. All right. So
I was going to say, as long as you don't have like, your traditional filmmaker, like you invite some guests that's like very traditional, very well respected, but then you have a lot of people in the audience who are like super AI, producers, and like they start to clash.
That's fine. Like I feel like the questions that I would ask are apply to both. So I wouldn't be like pushing AI at all. I would just be like, what's the best way to do this? What's the best way to do that? Because it really does apply to both. And you don't have to like push the AI aspect of it, because if you're trying to be professional, it should, as far as AI goes, it should look like a real film, I think.
I agree.
And look and sound.
Yeah. So maybe we could do the space on Sunday, just like content creation versus film making, maybe, or something like that, some subject like that, and then kind of put the feelers out and see who shows up, and then we can go from there. That might be a fun way to just tease it, or we'll put filmmaking first, like filmmaking versus content creation, and
bridging the gap.
Touching on those two subjects, because is there an overlap there, or are we just kind of pretending there is, or I don't know. That could be an interesting conversation, and because we like to get a little bit spicier on Sunday spaces, get kind of controversial subjects that get people a little riled up, and that could definitely be one.
Let's just say like regular filmmaking is exactly the same as AI.
Yeah, maybe not that one.
Like, who needs photographers anymore? You can just describe a screen to AI or a scene to AI, right?
Cameras are no longer required.
Those are fighting words, guys.
Right.
We creative people, we're like, what are you talking about? Like, so yeah.
Yeah, and that always gets good discussions, and I love that kind of stuff, because like I am a photographer and I love AI, and I create a lot of images that are kind of photo realistic in AI for different use cases, because like I can't always just do a photo shoot and throw it together and get the images I need. I'd love to, kind of, but not really, because that's a heck of a lot of work, honestly, and time and organization and all this stuff that I don't really want to deal with. But I know my job as a photographer isn't necessarily under threat either, because look, AI isn't going to generate your family portrait. AI isn't going to take photos of your wedding. AI isn't going to be at your family reunion taking pictures of those moments when, grandma opens the gift and, it's a family moment, all this stuff. Like there's still those genuine moments that you do need a photographer, you do need an actual videographer there to capture in real time, in reality. And then also the creativity of art. I mean, that when photography was invented, people didn't throw their paints away and never paint again. So, it's all a progression and different mediums and ways to use it. So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you have a few more years until the Optimus bot learns how to hold the camera.
Yeah. I mean, most people with their phone, yeah, you can give it to a stranger and have them take your picture of your family and it'll be, pretty good. So I understand that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's inevitable. Really.
I don't think photography will ever go away. I mean, I really appreciate photography, and I think a lot of people do, especially like not just of people, but architecture, like the angles and all of that. Like it will never go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is that artist's point of view. And once you have that, you can't replicate that. It's always going to be that individual artist's point of view on something. Gunky, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. I've tried everything to make this space work for me, but it's just you're all crackling and buzzing and voices.
You're crackling too. I think you got a dusty connection somewhere.
It's a bug. Like you have to leave and come back and then it'll go away.
Yeah, I've tried that. I think I'm going to have to reboot my computer. I think I've got too much open in other programs and I've got no RAM left to play the game. And I'll say great space as always, guys. I love spaces. Always got things to think about and talk about. And Chris, if you're going to start sort of pursuing filmmaking, I'm learning from the AI that the more you know about filmmaking, the greater your potential to use it. And I'll post it and I'll go find it and post it. I hadn't even ever heard of him, but he's been knighted. He's something or other, and he's a lighting director, and he has worked on everything. And he just talks through all these games he played to get the effects that he wanted. He said we just built this mountain of light bulbs and just spotted a couple out of it while the people were running, just using a Steadicam, running through like the church scene kind of thing. And I think it was in 1917, that film. But once you see his sort of back catalogue, I'm like, oh, if you follow this guy and whatever he's doing, you'll learn a few tricks, I think. But anyway, yeah, it's all gone a bit pear-shaped, as we call it over here for me. But I will leave and I will catch up with you guys later. Really appreciate the space. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great, by the way. Yeah, love to talk to him.
Cool. Yeah. If you guys follow cool accounts, feel free to recommend them. We're all kind of trapped in our little silos and it's hard to break out. So if you know any accounts that should be following or mentioning or checking out like Gunky just did, then we definitely want to encourage that. And then we can invite them to come if they can or not. But just always having more creative people that are on this platform, especially they have a tough time sometimes. So I do like to actively follow creative people. So I'm like, hey, no, it's okay. You're being seen. You're doing great. So, all right, this has been a really great space. I'm going to be closing up here in a second. Rich threw his hand up, so we'll go to Rich. And if anyone else wants to chime in, please.
Sorry, I had a weird thought. Like, what if X changed it? You know how they keep modifying their subscriptions and raising the prices and stuff like that? What if they made it so that you had to have a premium plus subscription to host a space? Oh, no, you don't think that would happen?
It's possible. Yeah, like if they're not making a profit on it, but it might also be good for, people that can afford that, right? Like more people in the spaces because there's less spaces.
That's what I was thinking. I'll go ahead, Little Miss.
I don't like that. I just wrote an article today about the premium plus price going up because it just went up. Like a month ago, it went up to $30, and March it's going to be $50. And so I'm just like, whoa, that's a $20 jump. But since it started, it has gone up 127%. I let ChatGPT do the math, so it's correct. But yeah, that's a lot. I'm like, gosh, y'all are greedy because and I put it in there. I said, I can, because I'm monetized on other platforms. I'm like, I make more money on other platforms and I don't pay for them. And so I'm like, so this doesn't make any sense to me because people are breaking their necks to make $60. And I think that's insane. I'm not going to pay you 50 and then give it right back to you. That doesn't make sense to me. The math is bad math.
Yeah, agreed. And I will encourage everyone to subscribe on the website. If you are on a subscription on your phone and you're getting these notifications that your subscription price is going up, you need to unsubscribe and subscribe on the web. I subscribed on the web monthly back in June. I've paid $16 a month since then. I just got my invoice to my inbox on the 23rd for $16 for Premium Plus. So I don't know what everyone else is getting or seeing. If I go to my settings right now and look at what it says like premium, whatever subscription, it says $40 a month there, but my actual invoice has never changed. So just make sure you're checking that. I get mine via email every time I pay. So, go into your subscription, wherever it is, and just make sure what it is you're actually paying matches up what you're seeing everyone go on about. So yeah, I just want to get that little message out there.
Yeah, I think it goes into effect next month. And I think that it's largely just X's. I think they're battling ChatGPT and rolling Grok into the X experience and making the X users pay for it to help in the battle. That's my personal opinion. But that's kind of why I thought about like rolling Spaces, being able to host Spaces into the subscription, because for one, Spaces do get a little bit watered down. There are a lot of Spaces lately, and so that would kind of pack more of an audience into the Spaces, and then to actually add a little more features to that $50 price tag if you're subscribing from computer, from mobile, which like Kate said, definitely subscribe to PC. Like you're going to save $120 a year annually. So yeah, and that's all I have to say about that. Sorry, Kate.
No, it's all good.
I was just going to say thank you. And it's $490 a year. That's how much it's going to be starting March 1st. So yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, for me, this is barely worth the $16 a month that I'm paying. Like I think last month I got like $14 for the whole month out of the monetization. So barely pay, not quite even paying.
I was thinking to myself, do you know how many people would drop Netflix or Hulu if they were $50 a month? If they were just like, you know what, we're going to be $50 a month. People were like, sorry, no thanks.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Value is not adding up at all. It's becoming like a charity payment almost. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the space now, but I do want to just point out my pinned post I put up here, which is I put out a few weeks ago, and just about the direction of the community. So if you're interested in the collaboration station and the spaces that we do and you're regular and all that fun stuff, you can go in there and see how you can be a more active member. And we talk about spaces, we want to participate in the community and host a space in the community with that built-in audience. Like Gunky was saying, testing it out, making sure you're comfortable, you have an idea, concept, maybe a co-host already lined up, but if not, we're here to help you too if we're available. So, come with your ideas. It can be a regular space. It could be just a one-off. I have this thing and I want to make sure I can reach some people because maybe your audience isn't active as being in the community. I don't know, lots of ideas. And there's other things in there about going over to the Facebook group to actually connect and network with people. So you don't have to keep everything in DMs. You can post about projects, really collaborate, get some minds on things without having it being a public post on X or buried in the DM somewhere. Like for me, both of those things are not productive for me. So I like the idea of like being in a Facebook group and being able to communicate in there with the comments and all that. It's just a nicer type of place to do that. So that's brand new. If that's something that interests you, it's all in that post. So take a look, go through the pin posts up there if you haven't yet. And yeah, we'll be on Sunday Space. We'll probably do the tie-in of content creation versus filmmaking some way. We'll make it a hot topic, controversial topic. So you'll have things to chime in about. So you can start thinking about that and join us for the Sunday Space. All right. So other than that, any questions about spaces, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm around and you can leave your replies down in the comments too. I'll answer questions there. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think I'm going to say thank you to my wonderful co-hosts. Thank you to all the speakers. Fantastic advice. wonderful discussion. And then all the listeners here that we see every week. So great to see you. I really enjoy seeing your faces down there. And that's it. So have a great day, everybody. See you on Sunday. Bye.